What is today anyway? August 19th?
19th.
Okay, and you're watching Live and Let Live, which is celebrating its 7th or 8th year or something like that, being on Austin Cablevision. And my name is Terry Liberty Parker. This is a live call-in show. We're doing this show on Saturday, August 19th. It's 8 p.m. or a minute after or thereabouts. And Live and Let Live is a show that's produced by libertarians to kind of interface with whoever's watching television on Saturday night, which has got to be an odd crowd. And we also have a guest today, or a guest host, or a combination guest and host. A combination man in the street and man about town, Vince May. And if you are going to call in, the call-in number is 472-CALL. And when you call, let the phone ring. We'll answer the phone live on the air. And just it's going to ring for a long time before we get to it, and I'm being signaled.
I just want to tell you something very quickly. You were not on for a few seconds there, so you're kind of starting now.
Okay. You missed the first few seconds of Pearls of Wisdom, I was just told. So this is Live and Let Live. They may have run the titles early. Live and Let Live is produced by libertarians, and this is a live call-in show on Saturday, August 19th. And with me is also Vince May and another libertarian.
Well, our regular guest didn't show up tonight, and so they needed me to fill this chair.
Well, our guest had some stuff that happened at the family, and they couldn't make it. And we're going to try to book the guest in for another show. And maybe if that guest is watching or has a chance to get to the TV, he might call in. At least somebody's calling in. All right, let the phone ring. We'll answer you live on the air. And be patient on the first couple of calls because we usually have a rough time. We're all rookies here, so I'm going to try and see what happens here. Yes, caller. Okay. Okay, that was our first call. While they furiously plug and replug things, I'll go ahead and give you the key to the libertarian realm. And if you have a brain that works, you can take this premise, this key to the libertarian realm, and you can come up with a libertarian position on any of the issues, or you can formulate some libertarian proposal. You don't have to read the entire catechism of libertarian libraries. You can start with this premise, which is stated in about 30 seconds or less, and this is the way I would state it. You're sovereign over your own life. And what that means in the material world is that the physical domain of your sovereignty is at the very least your body and your honestly acquired possessions. And the axiom that supports all of that is that no person can initiate physical force against another person or their honestly acquired possessions. That's it, in 30 seconds or less. That's the key to the libertarian realm. Now that premise says that you can't be the first one to swing, but you can use physical force to defend yourself. You can't initiate physical force, but you can initiate spiritual force, economic force, intellectual force. Let's see if we can get these callers on the air. And again, this is a live call-in show, Saturday, August 19th. And let's see if you've got an idea for a libertarian position on the issues or some libertarian proposal. Yes, go ahead. That's you, caller. Caller, hello? You? Okay. All right. Hang in there with us. We usually have this problem starting up because when we come in, they've moved the plugs around on everything, and they're all rookies in the back there, so they have to kind of learn this as we go along. It's 472-CALL, and we'll answer your call live on the air. Yes, caller.
Hey.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
So why did you take the right to swim naked at Hippie Hollow away?
I didn't.
Oh, really?
Where did you get the idea that we did that?
I virtually think you can swim anywhere in the United States nude as long as you don't make an issue out of it.
As a matter of fact, I'll go you one further and say, as a libertarian, you do have a right to.
As a libertarian, as a person, you have a right to swim anywhere you want to, as long as you're not offending somebody else. I mean,
No,
why
I
is
wouldn't
it a
hold your
liberta-
rights hostage to
Why
offending
is it a
somebody.
libertarian issue?
I wouldn't hold your rights hostage to offending somebody. If you're, unless you are on somebody's private property. Now, if you're like standing in my living room and I object to you either having your clothes on or having them off, okay, it's my living room, I make the rules. But if you're out in a public area, basically nobody's got a right to dictate to you as far as what your personal appearance is going to be. How do you like that one?
Well,
Hello?
I mean, I agree with that, but well, I just watched the TV station. What channel is it again?
We're on cable channel 10.
Channel 10.
Now, watching TV on Saturday night is an unusual thing for you, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Somehow I got that impression.
But I mean, I basically felt that people enjoyed that right to swim naked at Hippie Hollow for 18 years, and it didn't
Yeah.
become an issue until it became a libertarian issue. I mean, it's such
So
a
you
fine
wait,
line.
whoa.
It's such a fine line. I mean, take the right to, you can buy a permit to smoke pot for $5 if you want to register in the city of Austin, but is that just,
I never heard that one.
oh, you can, but is that just, signing your name down that you smoke pot, and so when the police come to your house, I mean, do you really have any right to say, this is my personal property, et cetera, et cetera?
I actually I've never heard that there is you're saying there's a municipal process where
Yeah.
you can sign off some sort of a permit to smoke pot?
Right.
Never heard of it.
Right. So I mean, it's a liberty. It's a your rights issue. It's my right to smoke pot in my backyard. But as soon as I sign a piece of paper saying that I do so,
Yeah.
I mean, am I really losing my right or am I protecting my right? I mean, theoretically, it should work that I wouldn't be losing my right, but more than likely, I would.
Well, a libertarian would say that you should not have had to have signed such a document, and if you did, it sure sounds like there's an awful lot of coercion involved in making you sign that document in order to help you feel more secure about your rights. So the libertarian objection would be, if there is such a procedure, it should not be there, and the laws that prohibit your smoking pot shouldn't be there either.
But so why did you have to have the go-ahead to swim naked at Hippie Hollow?
I think it was a Democratic county judge and a Republican sheriff who took your rights away in that respect.
Yeah, I don't know where this theory is that libertarians took that away.
Because they made it an issue, just like...
No, libertarians didn't make it an issue.
Really?
Where did you get that idea?
I heard it on the KVET radio that it was a poster contest.
Right. Well,
that
it
was
sounds
gonna
to
be
me-
celebrating National Nude Year, Month rights, or your National Nude rights.
Okay.
And it was a libertarian organization that was having this poster contest that brought our our right to light. And before we were allowed to exercise that right, and it wasn't an issue. And once it became an issue, we lost that right.
So who made that issue?
The Libertarian Party.
No. Sammy Allred and Bob Cole told a bunch of vicious lies about the contest that Gene Stevens' organization, Liberty Action International, which is not explicitly a libertarian organization, although it has a lot of libertarian support, but they were doing a contest in which children were going to draw posters. What
Right.
Bob Cole...
I realize the issue. I'm not arguing.
No.
the right
You
or-
don't realize. You are not stating what made it an issue. What made it an issue is that Bob Cole and Sammy Allred represented the contest as naked children parading before adults for a Body Beautiful contest, and the child
Yeah, but
that was.
I
And the
know,
child,
and-
let me finish. The child that was the most beautiful body would then have picture posters made of them. Now, that contest is nothing like what was proposed. So if you want to get mad at somebody for making an issue, get mad at the KVET people, Bob Cole and Sammy Allred, and Paul Pryor over on KLBJ, who chimed in, who flagrantly misrepresented the issue, when they were confronted with this on air by the people who were in Liberty Action International, including one of the mothers who was on the board of directors for Liberty Action International, whose children were going to be in the contest, she confronted them on air, straightened them out, and they proceeded to continue the lie after that, that this was a Body Beautiful contest, after she told them, no, this was kids making posters, drawing them with crayons and stuff. So if you want to get mad at somebody for making an issue...
I don't particularly want to get mad at someone.
Okay.
I'm still going to exercise my right to swim naked. But
Yeah. Well, your right wasn't taken away.
It's just interesting that, you know, I've swam naked at places for a long time, and it's not like I necessarily asked permission. I exercised my right.
Right.
And...
You still have the right at Hippie Hollow, by the way.
Right, as an 18-year-old or after
Right,
you're over
right.
18. But I
Yeah,
don't
what
know if
the
they-
Democratic county commissioners and the Democratic county attorney did, these are Democrats. They are the ones who said that parents can no longer bring their children with them to Hippie Hollow, and if they do so, they're trespassing at Hippie Hollow. And Democratic county attorney Ken Oden said that he thinks that that parent is violating the law that has to do with making child pornography.
Right, well, it sounds like that's his personal issue, and I don't
It's
agree
his
with
personal
that.
hang-up, yes.
But, okay.
And he's a Democrat, not a Libertarian.
Oh, okay. Good night.
Get the point. Okay. All right. And let's see. 472 call will answer you live on the air if I get these buttons right. Yes? Go ahead. Hello? That's you? Okay. Maybe I didn't get the buttons right. Okay. Let's see. Do that. Do that. It's 472 call. Let the phone ring. We'll answer you live on the air. Yes. Caller.
Hello.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that I don't understand why you're making such an issue. Democratic, Libertarian, Republican, it does not matter. I think politics sucks.
Okay. Politics does suck. Libertarian, the word libertarian refers to an explicit philosophy or philosophical premise. Democratic and Republican refer to just two political parties. There is a Libertarian Party based on the Libertarian philosophy. There are more Libertarians in either the Democrat or Republican parties than there are in the Libertarian Party. But, and here's the good news for you, caller, there's more Libertarians who are not involved with politics at all. They're just philosophically Libertarian, and they go about their business and conduct their businesses and their personal lives in such a way that they support the Libertarian premise, which is live and let live. Yes, caller. Yes?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
What are you doing about the censorship that they're trying to pull at ACTV?
I heard something to the effect that there was, and I'm going to ask you for a little confirmation here on this. Are they in fact trying to do content management at ACTV?
I think they're going to try to instigate block programming, which is to put similar programming together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's coming from ACTV management as much as it is from the city council and the mayor's office. These right-wing folks who get so upset about seeing any body part, but, you know, show dead fetuses on the air all the time and are not very considerate about other people's rights and just have their own agenda. I think they're the ones that are complaining so much about so-called content. If it's not their religious bigotry of the right, then, you know, they don't like the content.
I think it'd be unfortunate if this council, which is probably more liberal in its makeup than conservative, I think it would be unfortunate and idiotic if this council was to think that block programming is not a form of content management. And the reason that ACTV, or more generically, why public access TV cannot have its content managed by the city council, is because the moment the city, and this is why it's different than a commercial TV station, the moment the city council steps in to start editorializing or editing the content on ACTV, at that moment it is taking responsibility for everything that is on the cable system, everything that is on ACTV. That means if anybody's offended about anything, it doesn't have to do with sex. It could be Joe Blow calls John Smith a name and that person gets upset. It means that the deep pockets of the Austin City taxpayers are then going to become a lure for what's called litigation enterprises. Now that's where a lawyer sees that there's these deep pockets of the Austin taxpayers, and why here's something that we can make an issue out of. Now, commercial TV stations don't get into that because they go completely the other way. They take responsibility for everything that's on there. They've got lawyers monitoring everything, and it's a very tightly controlled agenda that goes on to any commercial TV station. Public access TV cannot be that way because it's a publicly run facility. The other aspect of this is that you can't have people being forced by law to pay for a facility and then arbitrarily deny them access to that facility.
I think it's a little more complicated. I appreciate what
Yes,
you
it is.
said, but it seems to me that they use...
That was the simple explanation.
Yeah, well, that was okay, but they use the money, the contract money that goes to ACTV as blackmail, as it were, over content. They say, we're not going to give you your money, or are you going to straighten it up down there? And then if they don't give the monies, like, for example, right now, ACTV has not been given its monthly money to operate. And so they put pressure behind the scenes. There's nobody from the council that's ever going to come out and say they're for censorship. It's all manipulation.
I'm amazed that all of these so-called Democratic liberal elected officials, our county commissioners, are the ones who have voted to take away the right of parents to take their kids with them to Hippie Hollow for skinny dipping. This is a so-called Democratic liberal county attorney that has threatened parents who bring their kids with them with charges of child pornography or using their child for child pornography, as absurd as that sounds. And I would say to this, what is perceived to be a Democratic liberal city council, although I realize they're not supposed to have party affiliations, what I would say to this city council that is supposed to, at least tries to posture itself or is perceived as being liberal, is take a look at what happened to America Online when it attempted to do some kind of guarantees about the family nature of the message conferences that were available on America Online. They got their head handed to them when they stuck their nose into content management. So all of you true blue lovers of freedom on the city council, what in the hell are you doing?
Well,
trying
how
to
can
dictate?
you say they're liberal, though, because they passed this ordinance against the homeless, the poorest of the poor, people with no power, and the other night at 11 o'clock at night, with very little citizen input, they gave away everything to Freeport McMoran. There were only
I think they were liberal
Lucas Shea and Max that voted against just a giveaway to Freeport McMoran. So
I'm being a little sarcastic about the use of the term liberal here, because I have a lot of good friends who are both conservative or liberal. The problem is whether they're going to be authoritarian or not and take away your rights.
Or they are in the pockets of the rich. Let's put it like that.
That's the comment I was going to make. I think maybe they might have been liberal at one time, but now they're chasing after the almighty buck, and they're going to rape the taxpayers for everything they can get before they leave office.
Well, what's with this, though? Only two people voted against the giveaway to Freeport McMoran, Richard and Max. Only two. At 11 o'clock at night with no citizens' input. I'm sick of them all. I just can't stand it.
Try not to give them any money.
Oh, I don't. I don't have any to give, except taxes.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. That's the stuff they don't ask you about.
That's true. Thanks.
Thanks. And it's 472-CALL. We'll answer your call live on the air. Let the phone ring. And let's see if, whoops, I didn't work that right. Try that. Yes, are you there?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Tina.
Hi, Tina.
Last summer I was at Hippie Hollow,
Okay.
me and my boyfriend,
All right.
and someone took a picture of me. Someone took a picture of me,
Okay.
and I didn't have on any clothes.
All right.
And 2 weeks later, a friend comes up to me and says, I saw a picture Jerry had, and you didn't have any clothes on. Jerry took a picture of me, had nothing on, nothing.
Is Jerry a friend of yours?
No, Jerry's not, but my friend told me that Jerry took this picture.
Well,
They should not have cameras there.
well, it sounds like you've got a beef with Jerry.
Do you counsel that?
Do a what?
Do you counsel that?
Counsel. I don't understand the question. Do I cancel that?
Counsel.
Counsel. You mean, do I approve of it? Approve that he took a picture?
No, I don't know what to do.
Oh, my understanding is you've got legal remedies if your privacy's been invaded. You know, if he didn't do a model release on you, if he's showing your picture around, you may have just cause. Although I don't know if Jerry doesn't have deep pockets, so to speak. It might not be any more than just emotionally or psychologically satisfying. I don't know. Jerry doesn't sound like he's being too considerate of you. Have you talked with him?
Well, no, but I talked to my friend, and she talked to him, and she told him it was wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, did a bunch of other people tell Jerry that what he did was kind of rude and inconsiderate to take a picture of you without your permission and then show it around?
No, they're all looking at it.
Are these his friends or your friends or both?
Well, we have mutual friends, and now they all know what I look like with no clothes on.
Well, you could always ask them to be next or something. That's one where it just sounds like you've got a set of friends that are maybe not too considerate of you. I don't know what to tell you on that one. Okay, and it's 472 call, and we'll answer you live on the air. Yes, caller, are you there? Not there. Okay, and yes, caller.
Yes, I saw that picture of Tina with no clothes on. It's disgusting. Just
Okay. Well, I guess you stopped looking at some point. Now, you had some issues, too, you wanted to bring up.
Well, we had some things in the news we might discuss. We had the issue of the ballpark in the city of Austin. And, well, I guess most people would know that the city council decided to commit the taxpayers to a $10 million investment in a stadium. And they were not going to ask for the voters' permission, even though that's required in the city charter. They figured, well, they're above the charter now, so they don't. But there was a group organized that insisted. They were circulating a petition and wanted to demand that the city offer the citizens a right to vote on the $10 million bond issue. They're not necessarily opposed to having a baseball stadium, but they do want to have their rights honored under the charter, and that is the right to vote on that.
Yeah, we almost had a guest on tonight, Victor Aquino from one of the East Side neighborhood associations, or Southeast neighborhood associations, who has been told by the city that the bonds that are needed for the drainage improvements in his neighborhood, which is East Austin, by the way, folks, those bonds could not be put on the ballot for another few years or so, 1998 or something like that. But somehow the baseball park is an emergency. He is hopping mad, so are the people in his association, and I don't blame him. To be told that your houses have to be flooded out because you can't get bonds put on for an election, and then watch these baseball park bonds be rushed onto the ballot. Yes, caller. It's our musical interlude.
Okay.
All right, and that was our promo for V-Line, which comes on a little bit later tonight. And yes, caller.
bombs, bombs, bombs.
Whatever that means.
Thank you.
I love bombs.
Okay, thank you. 472 call, let the phone ring. We'll answer you live on the air. And let's see if we have a caller here. We have a dial tone, or more phones ring. Hello, caller?
Fuck you, cocksucker.
Now, is this something that you were desiring to do on Saturday night with some face on television? That was an authoritarian. Basically, authoritarians are kind of bankrupt on ideas. And they don't really have anything to say to libertarians. There's nothing that they can come up with to, that intelligently refutes the libertarian position on issues. So what they do is they'll call up and say something stupid from their side. And let's see, what do you want to bet on these next couple of lines here? Okay. No, bet that I can punch the buttons correctly. Yes, caller.
Bombs.
Okay, let me try it this way. Yes.
Yes, hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a young man today who asked me,
Speak up.
what is a libertarian? What does a libertarian believe in?
What's the premise?
What's the premise?
Okay, in 30 seconds or less. I realize that people do channel scanning, so we usually try to state the premise at the beginning of the show, but a lot of times you don't get into the show until we're past that. In 30 seconds or less, and also let me say, this is the way I express it. Other libertarians might express it differently, but the concept's going to be the same. You are sovereign over your life, and what that means in the material world is that the physical domain of your sovereignty is at the very least your body and your honestly acquired possessions. And the axiom that supports that premise is that no person can initiate physical force against another person or their honestly acquired possessions. And that's it, in 30 seconds or less. If you understand that premise and can logically extrapolate from that premise into other positions or propositions, then you're just as qualified as anybody else that's calling themselves a libertarian to advocate a position or criticize it.
That sounds a lot like what I feel like I am versus a Democrat or a Republican, for example.
It is what most people are. Most people already subscribe to live and let live, which is a looser way to state that premise. Most people recognize that in a civilized society you don't have the right to swing first on somebody, but you do have the right to defend yourself. Right. That's why there's the libertarian prohibition is one on the initiation of physical force. But you do have the right to initiate non-physical force like intellectual force, spiritual force, and what have you. And basically, that libertarian premise allows people to be people and accommodates a broad array of people in the same physical environment. And most people are libertarians.
The other parties do expressly allow the government to use force. They propose that the government should be able to tell you what you may smoke, what you may eat, where you may live, what you should do with your income.
Right, and what you may...
I mean, at one time, they even wanted to tell us what church we should go to because they of course, knew better than us, and they didn't want us to burn in hell. So force, even if it meant running a sword through you if you went to the wrong church, well, they knew best for what was...
Well, I sure hope the City Council and the ACTV Board are listening, because I'd like to see them apply some libertarian principles to public access producers and really support free speech and help producers do their thing and take responsibility for their own actions on television and stay out of it. Because they're just going to be sued, like
America Online was sued for doing exactly what the council is trying to do now.
Yeah, I had not heard anything about that, and that is a perfect example. And ACTV's been threatened before with lawsuits if they get into content, and they've been told by the city attorneys not to be involved in content. Right.
The moment you step into content, at that point you take responsibility for everything that is said on that forum. And that's what happened to America Online. They got this great big, this great marketing idea, this marketing blitz that they're going to promote themselves as this family computer BBS service. And of course what happened is because they took that position, they were taking responsibility for the stuff that was on the message conferences, and they got stung by that, as they should have.
You can't control the public's talk. I just hope that ACTV and the city is not sued over any content management, and that is what block programming is, in my opinion.
Yeah, because if you categorize something in a particular way, then you've made a decision about the content. I don't know what attorneys they're listening to, but I don't know how to get to I don't know how you get their attention.
Well, when they can cut down a show that they say is a whips and chains show in the middle of the afternoon, all you have to do is turn on the commercial stations for the talk shows, and and see worse than that. And I have to slip away from the commercial channels when my kids are in the room. Why should they apply any different standard to public access television?
True. That's true.
Thanks for your show.
Thank you for the call. And we're at the end of the show here. We're now into Gary's time. And if you have a computer and modem, Liberty BBS is 462-1776. That's a free computer bulletin board system that has a lot of libertarian message conferences on it. And if you don't take control of your own life, somebody else probably will.
LPTV, Libertarian Party Television. Hi, I'm Jerry Heaton with the Travis County Libertarian Party. Welcome to LPTV. Pull out your pens and your calendars because I'm going to make some announcements that you'll want to be sure to write down. Every Sunday, there's a political discussion group at Hickory Street Grill at 7 p.m. That's the corner of 8th and Congress downtown. Your host for that discussion group is Terry Liberty Parker, and you can reach Terry Parker for information at 326-4787. Each Wednesday night, there is a political discussion group at the Shoney's North, which is on the northbound Interstate 35 access road near St. John's. That's at 7 p.m., and the host for that discussion group is Alan Bearden, and you can reach him at 833-8403. Our Wednesday night discussion group has a speaker once a month. The next scheduled speaker is Wednesday, September 6th, and that is Mr. Rocky Bruno, who is with the rescission movement. Mr. Bruno is going to share with us a video by Richard McDonald, who is widely known as the grandfather of the rescission movement, and he's going to talk about how to rescind your U.S. citizenship and obtain a state citizenship in its place. That's on Wednesday, September 6th at 7 p.m. at Shoney's North. And for information on that discussion, you can call Alan Bearden at 833-8403. And if you have a computer and a modem, you can log on to Liberty Bulletin Board at 462-1776. If you're having trouble logging on or you'd like more information about the Liberty BBS, you can contact the systems operator, Terry Liberty Parker, at 326-4787. That concludes the announcements for this week. If you're aware of activities that you think might be of interest to libertarians or political freethinkers, please contact us at 467-1776 and let us help spread the word. And coming up next on LPTV is another enlightening installment of Smash the State, so stay tuned. Live from Austin, where the City Council is forcing the cable company to carry a channel of locally produced music 24 hours a day, it's Saturday night. And now, for something completely dissident, here's Gary.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Good evening, this is Smash the State. Welcome to our show. Well, Ross Perot had his little convention in Dallas last weekend, And that giant sucking sound you heard was those desperate Republican candidates kissing his ass. Well, Ross Perot says he is not sure if he will run for president. I don't think he should run for president. He should seek an office closer to his ambitions, Emperor of France. I think he would look just fine in that blue hat with a big N on it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hold in my hand this week's bottom 10 list. From the state headquarters on Cesar Chavez Street, the category is Bottom 10 Campaign Reforms Ross Perot Will Not Support. All right, now we know that Ross Perot says he will form a new political party if Congress does not pass so-called campaign finance reform. Now, what is campaign finance reform? It is stacking the deck and rigging the rules to favor your candidate and put the other candidates at an unfair disadvantage. Nevertheless, Ross Perot, a longtime wheeler dealer and lobbyist in the halls of Congress and the Texas legislature, does not seem like much of a reformer. And you could be sure that there will be some campaign reform ideas he would not like. And here are the bottom 10 campaign reforms Ross Perot will not support. -10, a limit on how much a candidate can spend on his own campaign. -9, revoke the tax-exempt status of United We Stand America. -8, public disclosure of the membership list of United We Stand America. -7, if you run for president and withdraw, you cannot re-enter the race. -6, no revolving door. Do not allow government contractors to run for office. -5, minimum height requirement for candidates. -4, affirmative action. No heterosexual white male presidents for a while. -3, no book deals. Prohibit politicians from writing books. -2, powers of the presidency limited by the Constitution. And the -1, campaign reform Ross Perot will not support. Testing presidential candidates' sanity. All right, we have a great show for you. Pay attention, there will be a test. If this be treason, make the most of it. Gary, all those congressional investigations are nothing more than partisan politics. Why are the Republicans singling out Hillary Rodham Clinton's investments in real estate and cattle futures for selective persecution? What about Phil Gramm's investments in pornography? And if you want to blame the Clinton administration for what went wrong near Waco, how about blaming the Bush administration that planned the whole thing? You don't really care about Whitewater. After all, most of those who profited from the taxpayers' bailouts of the savings and loans and the real estate deals of the 1980s were your Republican friends in big business. President Clinton is just trying to do what is best for the country, and you conservatives are trying to tear him down because you are jealous and have nothing positive to offer. Gary, all those congressional investigations are nothing more than partisan politics. Why are the Democrats singling out poor old Senator Bob Packwood for selective persecution of his alleged sexual harassment? What about Congressman Mel Reynolds or Senator Ted Kennedy? And if you want to find something wrong with Newt Gingrich's book deal with Rupert Murdoch, how about looking into Al Gore's book deal too? You don't really care about the tobacco companies hiding research that smoking is harmful. After all, when you Democrats ran Congress for 40 years, you maintained and increased taxpayer subsidies to tobacco farmers year after year. The Republicans in Congress are just trying to do what is best for the country. And you liberals are trying to tear them down because you are jealous and you have nothing positive to offer. Gary, you hate-mongering, racist, Nazi, fascist, Neanderthal pig. You have reached the right conclusion, but for all the wrong reasons. Congress is motivated more by party loyalty than a search for truth. Those congressional hearings are just dog and pony shows designed to get cheap publicity and score easy political points. More often than not, they cover up more than they reveal. But since our two sides agree, there must be no alternative. Gary, you godless, communist, bleeding heart, weirdo pervert. You have reached the right conclusion, but for all the wrong reasons. Congress is motivated more by party loyalty than a search for truth. Those congressional hearings are just dog and pony shows designed to get cheap publicity and score easy political points. More often than not, they cover up more than they reveal. But since our two sides agree, there must be no alternative. Good evening. This is the official report. The stories you are about to hear are true. A Gallup poll for CNN and USA Today finds that 62% support a third party, up from 58% in 1992. And 76% say government can be trusted to do what is right only some of the time, up from 70% in 1990. President Clinton may be authorizing the FDA to regulate nicotine as a drug, and he may be campaigning against teenagers smoking cigarettes, but the president says he will not quit smoking his cigars. A state mental health institution in Tennessee, the Arlington Development Center, houses people with serious physical and mental handicaps, and 11 patients have died there in the past 10 months. So federal judge John McCullough has sentenced Tennessee's mental health commissioner Marjorie Nell Cardwell to be imprisoned every fourth weekend at the Arlington Development Center. The Department of Justice has agreed to pay white separatist Randy Weaver and his 3 surviving daughters $3.1 million for killing Weaver's wife Vicki and 14-year-old son Sammy at Ruby Ridge, Idaho. The boy had been shot in the back by a U.S. Marshal, and Mrs. Weaver had been shot in the head by an FBI sharpshooter while she held a baby in her arms. While making the payment, the government admitted no wrongdoing. At the arraignment of Terry Nichols, one of those accused of the Oklahoma City bombing, the family of Nichols was forced to sit in the back of the courtroom instead of being allowed to sit up front. The front was packed with courtroom employees who were let in through a back door before the front doors were unlocked. The Department of Energy revealed that radiation experiments on humans from World War II to the 1970s involved 16,000 people, more than double earlier estimates. Some of the test subjects were prisoners, children, pregnant women, comatose patients, and indigent patients in public hospitals. Radio personality Howard Stern showed up for a book signing by Senator Alphonse D'Amato Senator Alphonse D'Amato's book, Power, Pasta, and Politics, and said, quote, "I am very proud of this book, even though I had nothing to do with it." And finally, the quotation of the week. Heavyweight boxer Mike Tyson has a tattoo on his arm of Mao Zedong. Tyson explained on Larry King Live the reason was that he was, quote, "a socialist." And that's the official report, where you hear its farce. All right, Smash the State is on the internet, on the World Wide Web. We actually are there now. Our homepage is right there on your screen there, http://www.geopages.com/Capitol Hill/1166. And you can't see this, but it looks something like this. Right? But we're actually on the web. And what happens is when you go to there, you see kind of script highlights from like the 4 most recent shows. All right. Smash the State welcomes electronic mail from viewers. Our email address is sedition@aol.com. Here is some actual email from actual e-viewers. Right. Letter number 1. The recent U.S. Supreme Court decision, Bruce Babbitt versus Sweet Home Chapter of Communities for a Great Oregon Incorporated, gives virtually unlimited power to federal bureaucrats and may be used to deprive people who own property of any rights whatsoever. All right, this letter is from Brian Lynch, and he goes on to say, the following scenario might become common after January 1997. Early morning, somewhere in America, federal agents armed with military-style assault weapons, legal for government officials but not for ordinary citizens, approach people's homes, knock on the doors, and inform the people that they must vacate their residences immediately because their presence disturbs the habitat of an endangered species protected by government regulations. If the people protest or resist, agents are authorized to use, quote, whatever level of force is appropriate and necessary to ensure compliance, unquote. The agents inform residents that the Endangered Species Act protects any living thing whose survival is determined to be endangered, except people. Regrettably, some citizens will be killed by the feds when their level of resistance reaches the point at which deadly force is authorized. Those citizens who present lower levels of resistance to government officials performing their official lawful duties, for which the use of specified levels of force are authorized, will be detained in a federal correctional facility. Those citizens complying with federal agents' requests will be resettled in federal interim resettlement facilities until it is determined that they may be returned to their residences without disturbing the habitat of any federally protected species. If it is not possible to return the people to their residences without encroaching on the habitats of federally protected species, the people will be relocated to permanent federal resettlement facilities, unquote. All right, now this letter is from Brian Lynch, and he is the host of Frontiers, which you can see here on Austin Community Television, Channel 10, every Saturday night at 9:30. So I just put that plug in there for you, Brian. Okay. Well, let me respond to your letter. Let's see. The use of the concern about the environment to take private property, heavily armed federal agents using unlimited deadly force, citizens detained in resettlement camps. Brian, you must be paranoid. That could never happen here. Send us your comments. If we get any email, and if any of it is any good, we may read it on the air. Again, that email address is sedition@aol.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for this week's Pop Quiz. The Clinton administration has authorized the Food and Drug Administration to discourage the use of tobacco. President Clinton, a cigar smoker, has authorized the FDA to regulate nicotine as a drug. And he wants to ban cigarette vending machines and limit tobacco advertising. How much do you know about tobacco? Get out your pencils and test your knowledge with this week's Pop Quiz. Question number 1. What is the slogan of the Clinton campaign to discourage teen smoking? A. Wait until you are an adult. B. Smoking is not cool. Or C. Just don't inhale. What is the government's approach to informing the public of the risks of tobacco? A. Warning labels on cigarette packages. B. Signs in stores about no tobacco sales to minors. Or C. Censorship of television commercials, billboards in stadiums, and logos on race cars. What does FDA Commissioner David Kessler, whom does FDA Commissioner David Kessler blame for illnesses due to tobacco? A. Scientists who withheld from consumers information about the detrimental effects of smoking. B. Sir Walter Raleigh. Or C. Joe Camel. When an individual smoker gets sick, what is really to blame? A. The addictive power of nicotine. B. Advertising. Or C. The individual smoker. On what past government policy is the latest government campaign against tobacco based? A. Lists of ingredients on food packages to encourage good nutrition. B. Ad campaigns against drunk driving. Or C. Prohibition. What extreme draconian measure will the federal government never take to reduce the use of tobacco? A. Violate the First Amendment. B. Interfere with personal choices about what to do with your own body. Or C. End tobacco subsidies. What will kids do when stores are effectively stopped from selling them cigarettes? A. They will not start smoking. B. They will start smoking only when they are old enough. Or C. They will get cigarettes the same way they get drugs, from their classmates, the drug pushers. And finally, what is the intent of the current campaign to discourage the use of tobacco products? A. To stop young people from smoking on the assumption that people who smoke start when they are teenagers. B. To protect children from a health hazard. Or C. To treat adults like children. And Smash the State will be right back. I told you we'd be right back. All right. Well, let's see. In the time we have left, I want to comment on something I'm going to call the free ride. Actually, one of the interesting things about the excuses that is given for taxation is that it is to take care of the free rider. That is, the idea is that if there is a public good that is provided, say protection, police protection, or roads or whatever, the idea of taxation is that you tax everybody so that everybody who benefits from this service will pay for it, and there will be no free riders. There will be no people who receive the benefit without paying for it. This is one of the convoluted rationales that is given for taxation. Well, I want to talk for a moment here about what really happens is that you have people who are taxed, and then you have people who are the free riders who get the subsidies. And in particular, I want to talk about literal free riders. In two cases. One is the government subsidies that go to airlines to provide air service to certain cities that either would not have air service or would have less air service in a free market, and also about the federal subsidies that go to mass transit, which means that the people who ride mass transit don't pay the full fair share of the cost of the transit, but the people who don't ride it have to pay for that cost, and so you have free riders. Well, what's happening is that there's a trend away from this. In particular, because of the Republicans in Congress cutting back on these subsidies, you actually have less subsidies. And so what has happened is with the airlines, there's been a dramatic cut in subsidies where these subsidies had been provided. And in the case of mass transit, you see places like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Philadelphia, and Detroit, which were depending heavily upon federal funds, now losing a lot of their subsidies. Now, this isn't entirely being eliminated. You still have places like Newport News, Virginia, Sioux City, Iowa, Columbus, South Carolina, Allentown, Pennsylvania, where the government, either the local government or some level of government, is providing tax funds to subsidize the operation of the airlines there. Well, of course, what happens is you have people who are riding the airlines at someone else's cost. And people are just not putting up with that anymore. And that's why we're seeing, I think, something of a taxpayer revolt. People who ride either mass transit or who ride airlines should pay their own fair share for their own rides, and that would be the way it should be. And the people who are not riding should not be paying taxes to subsidize those who are riding. Well, that's all I have to say for tonight. I want to thank you for joining us. Good night, everybody. The revolution will be televised.